And so here we are at the season finale of Build Divide. What a season it has been. And we're going to talk about that for a bit because the finale was very simple and straightforward, and I kind of like that until the end. So yeah, isn't until the end we did some season 2 setup. But right now, let us pick up with where we left off, and that is that the first big chunk of this episode is just the final fight between Teruto and Kika. And you know what? I kind of dig that. I really like that. I like that it was focused. I like that it was just on these two. The story wasn't about other characters. It wasn't about the crazy plot, convoluted world building, any of the things that always bog these kinds of shows down. The finale was very much a brother trying to save his sister. And that very much so felt like the point throughout. It was very much the writers got to do things the way they wanted, and I respect that. As for the final fight itself, well, I didn't find this to be the most exciting card fight in the episode. Honestly, I think my favorite was when he just faced that evil doctor dude and just, like, quadruple checked him. It was just so ridiculous. But I did like what they did with a lot of it. I liked how close it went. I liked it went down to the last lives, which, again, you kind of expect in this kind of thing. But where I kind of expected Teruto's big final card would be some big new thing to promote the next booster set or some shit like that, no, he summoned Kika's old favorite card, and he used that to save her, and I really like that. I respect the restraint. There wasn't some desire to just cram in some big thing to sell a set. Again, they were allowed to do things the way they wanted, and it emotionally worked and resonated. I liked that Teruto, the way he gets her back, it's not just because he wins, it's because he took the time to talk to her. Like, he just takes a good minute or two in the middle of the fight to apologize and talk about, like, how he needs her because they're family and all that stuff. And all this just seen, and there's no irony or sense of, like, oh, this is smolchy. It's just very much, again, it's just a brother trying to save his sister. The actors do it right. I think they look good enough. The animation is good enough. So when she does start to come out of it and he starts to get her back under control, it feels very genuine. And yeah, that's just really sweet and nice. Both actors are very good. So then Teruto wins the fight. And it was funny because I kept expecting that last damage. They lingered on it for a sec. I thought it was going to be a shot trigger and there'd still be more shit going on. But no, it was just kind of like that moment of, it's over. The situation is fixed. Everything is going to get better. And so then he beats Kika. We also get the scene, I forget kind of where it was, that Sakura, oh yeah, it's after the fight, but I'll just put it in here because I think it's very nice. We find out that when Kika made her way and became the best fighter and became the king, she was sort of forced against her will to, it wasn't made entirely clear, but I guess it was just that idea that, like, they brainwashed her. And the last bit of her sanity, it wasn't that Sakura went up and lost a fight, it was that Kika created Sakura, that side of herself, to be able to find Teruto and help him. And it was that desire to save him that really created Sakura. And I thought that was very sweet and nice. It is a little weird they're nude during all this, but, you know, it is what it is. So then, with the fight over, the bad guy then proceeds to start initiating his big plan, and in reality we find out just the power between the two when they fought was what he was after. But right when he's about to fulfill his evil plan and capture them in those creepy wires, those were really cool. Like, wires should not be that creepy, but they did a good job making you fear that. The blonde dude shows up and is like, boom, my time to do something. And then everything starts going crazy, and everything turns into squares, and everything's going around. It's ludicrous, and I enjoy the heck of it. Just watching as the world just starts falling apart, and then, like, Hiyori almost gets swept away, and the other guy escapes and goes after the bad guy. I'll just touch on that for a minute because they barely touched on it. So the big thing with him is we find out that the siblings he was talking about, they are the people we saw in the last episode. Him and his siblings were clones or genetically grown for something. If I were to take a guess, probably previous attempts at this guy trying to create a body to escape in. In other words, this guy really likes the idea of becoming a sexy anime boy. But yeah, that's what was going on there. This was the one clone who I guess was the strongest or survived the most and went into the game to get revenge. And that's what was going on there, and they very clearly did not have that planned out at the beginning of the show, so the only thing they could think to do was to squeeze that revelation right at the end when you're much more interested in Teruto and Kika, just so they can get it out of the way and be done with it. But yeah, no, so then, the wires are, pulling them away, and Teruto is able to push Kika out of the way, and they start coming for him, and there's this odd bit where Bloom pops out. That didn't go anywhere. Was that supposed to mean something, or is that set up for season 2? I don't know. But yeah, no, Teruto gets dragged away. He says, we're gonna figure this out. I'm gonna save you all. Kika gets swept away. Hiyori is about to die or whatever, but the blonde guy shows up, teleports them out, and we see the rest of Neo Kyoto in scenes that are very clearly to get us to the 22-minute mark, as people freak out as the city then begins to change and, get all weird. And the episode ends with Hiyori waking up with the blonde guy to be revealed that maybe this is the power of Sakura, I don't know. That the main part of the city has been covered in what looks like a giant flower. And the guy's like, so it begins. We're supposed to know what that means. And after the credits roll, the final scene is a person with a hood up, a hood similar to Teruto, looking onward. With the next big thing being that Season 2 will be code Build Divide Code White. And if I'm correct, from what I looked up, that is slated for a April 2022 release date. So we will talk more about that when the time comes. So all in all, what did I think of this show? What did I think of this finale? We'll do the finale first. I think this is a very fitting Season 1 finale. If things go horribly wrong and we don't get Season 2, I'm going to get pretty annoyed, but I think this did a good job of keeping the focus on the emotion and the goals of the characters. The big things, obviously, to take away that I know people will be talking about is, well, let's start with Teruto himself. So obviously Teruto spent a big chunk of the show being emotionless and pretty boring, and this was because of his memory loss, and naturally that came back later to the plot. I give a lot of credit to the actor for being able to make the switch from emotionless to emotional work very well. As for does then making Teruto have emotions, does that fix the character for me? Not overly. It works. It works very well within the story, but we knew that's where this was going, and I still feel like they could have done more to make the character entertaining throughout. Even though, when all was said and done, they did a good job with Teruto, I felt like they did kind of drop the ball, and we're just expecting the big twist to sort of support this. In terms of the world of this anime, I think that is also the big problem there as well. Their mentality was, you can we'll just explain it away at the end. It doesn't matter because they're stuck in the Matrix, so we don't really have to do world building. We can throw whatever weird shit we want because it's all going to be bullshit. Well, the problem is that means there is a fair chunk of time feeling wasted. And, I never want to feel like my time is wasted. But at the same token, that is something that thankfully the 12-episode format allows. We're not wasting a lot of time. There's really no filler. It's just one of those things, I just think they could have allocated what time they had better. But I would much rather take this than what would have happened otherwise, and that's just endless episodes. There's not enough time to creatively make the show look interesting, which is obviously a big selling point of this one. There's not a ton of time for really, working on plot revelations. There's not a ton of time that you really do for character, because everything is just based around get to more episodes, drag every plot point out, spend a lot of time on filler, a lot of time on useless card game stuff we don't overly care about. The 12-episode format is realistically the best thing to do at this point, because you can take whatever ideas you can have and really have to think about what works, what doesn't work. You have to challenge yourself and think in ways that are different. We've seen it work with Card Fight Vanguard, and in my my opinion, we saw it work with here. Build Divide is overall a super fun, super entertaining show. If you like card game anime, you will definitely love this because it's what you've kind of been wanting. Just a lot of intrigue and a lot of fun. And if you don't like card game anime, check this out anyways. I think they did a good job of making enough for all of you. But as for me, like I said, really liked it. But what did you think? In the comments section below, give me your thoughts on this anime, the 12-episode format for card game anime, and just if you like the style of the show. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me, because as soon as I get through the other couple shows and wrap that up, we're doing the best and worst anime of the year.